No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way.
He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't work
legend.
it up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Michael with League of Items. I'm with Dark Sheep, aka Employed Sheep, aka KBO Sheep. What's up,
Oh
Matt?
yeah. Oh, I'm just setting my alarm on my phone to get up at 3:30, so I can get ready for those lineups for the Korean baseball organization.
So, what's the best thing that happened yesterday? Fantasy or watching baseball or any of that?
The best thing that happened, I had a couple people tell me they won with my help, so that's the only thing better than winning yourself is hearing that. So
Very true. Well, today we're going to go over some EU Masters information. Anybody who watched my video from yesterday on DFS Bachelor's channel,
I
hopefully
did.
you got some good information from that one because I had the winners. I think that the amount of research I did a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, or a week and a half ago,
who knows, time is a flat circle.
it is getting tougher and tougher to remember what day things happen on. But yeah, so I did all the film from the first couple rounds of the EU Masters, and I've started picking up on some things like what teams have better players in certain positions that should help us figure out what teams have an advantage, and also like going through pick ban and stuff. That's actually been very helpful. One thing that we looked at or saw today is that in the BTXL match, the announcers realized that BTXL left open Graves on blue side and then didn't pick it, and they were like, "Why would you do that? That's crazy." And they were talking about like carry champions and like, or no, they banned it on blue side. And one of the things going into this slate, I said, if you see a team ban Graves on blue side, it means that they don't have any faith that they can out carry the other team through the jungle, and that's a horrible sign, very bad. That you want to stay away from that kind of team in general. But it ended up being right, and we'll take a look at that today as well.
Yeah.
In a separate video. But Matt, let's get started. Where do you want to go first?
All right, the first game we got Movistar Riders, which I think of like cowboy and western
Yes.
when I think of Movistar Riders. Anyway, versus Fnatic Rising. So we've got. You look at the odds here. Movistar is -109 on Odds Portal, and Fnatic Rising is -125. So ever so slightly in favor of Fnatic. Does that seem off to you? Because it does to me. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like Movistar just sort of got here by the skin of their teeth, or is that wrong?
They were 4-2, and Fnatic was also 4-2. Fnatic went 1-1 against Mouse Sports, which lost today. And then Movistar went 1-1 against the two other good teams in their division, and I guess they won the tiebreaker. So in the tiebreaker, it was Movistar. I wonder why they had a better seed going into that. Movistar beat Schalke, and then Movistar beat Kick.
Okay.
So I guess a lot of that was for like seeding and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's coming back to me. They had the double seeding matches.
Yeah.
This weekend,
So
whatever day that was.
yeah, on my screen right now, I had some other information open, so let me just get the good stuff up as well. So if I'm looking at these teams and trying to like do my analysis like I normally do, I always go to Gamepedia, and then I go to match history, and that helps me kind of remember the game, and then it also helps me figure out what I think about their pick ban and champion pools and stuff like that. So if I didn't know, if before I do any of this research, I haven't done any research on on these two teams outside of watching games from a week ago or a week and a half ago, I would assume that Fnatic Rising would be a bigger favorite because they come from a more well-known region and they are a more popular team.
Okay.
So that would be my first thought. Movistar is from Spain. Are they in the Spanish league with Vodafone Giants? Yeah, they probably are. It looks like they are.
If they are from Spain, that makes me think of... Oh, never mind. I was just going to say Spaghetti Westerns, but then I just remembered that spaghetti isn't Spanish.
Yes,
so
correct.
Can you edit that out in
Yes,
post?
I will totally edit that out in post because I do post.
Yeah, I don't want to look like an idiot.
Yeah, that'd be horrible.
Yeah,
So Fnatic in the finals against BTXL, they played a bunch of Rek'Sai. So they've played Rek'Sai, Zac, Pantheon, Trundle, Zac, Olaf. I don't see any Graves bans, but I don't see any Graves being picked. They've beaten Graves in the past, so they played against Isuba. Isuba was the worst team in their group, I think, and they gave up Graves to them one draft. So I don't think that's a huge problem. They probably just felt like this team isn't good enough to beat us this way.
Right.
But actually, I think I used that argument against somebody yesterday, which is probably the correct way to go. Because if you think that you're better than the enemy team and your blue side, and you don't actually think you're going to lose, then you should pick the best possible thing. Because if you're not good at it yet, it's a good way to get some like game time on stage, like important games with that champion. So that's probably a bad sign for Fnatic. In terms of Aphelios being picked and banned, it looks like it is not being banned against them for the most part, and sometimes they'll pick it and sometimes they'll just let it go through. So they're valuing things like Varus, Kalista, Senna more than Aphelios, which I think is a mistake. That might speak to their AD carry and like their play style. So from what you've seen, what do you think about these two teams? Do you notice any like talent stuff or like individual players that have done well on DraftKings or something like that?
Of course, DraftKings disappeared from my screen. There we go. Wait. So yeah, looking at these names, I feel like X Maddie and Magi Felix I've definitely seen or heard talked about in positive light by announcers and stuff as they're playing.
Yeah. Like
in hushed tones, I guess. Yeah, and just the fact that Dan's name is just Dan, that also stood out to me. But yeah. I know he's
they do have some pretty good names on this team. If we're going just purely based off of names, I think the team name, Movistars, is definitely better. But then if we go from like player names, we have Java, which is pretty cool, Elyoya, Binsu, and Rux. Those are all okay. I think Magi Felix is a pretty good name. Dan is a good name. Pride, questionable, but you know, it depends on what kind of Pride we're talking about. There's good Pride and there's bad Pride. You don't want to be on the bad Pride side of things, if you know what I'm saying. And then Bravado, it's a cool name.
I don't know what you're saying, but okay.
Well, anyway. there are historically movements associated with certain kinds of pride, and I'm being so vague about it that whoever understands what I'm talking about could either be like happy about it or mad about it. So I'm just gonna stay on the fence. Yeah. I'm not gonna make anything explicit. Which like that's probably even worse. I mean, that's probably even worse.
Anyway.
So like I said,
keep this on track.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep us on track. Good luck.
Yeah, so I feel like definitely Fnatic. I've seen more talk about, you know, in chats and these players specifically.
Yeah, I think.
And their price, and that we'll probably get to this eventually, but they're not priced like the odds show. Between the two teams.
Yeah. Well,
Fnatic is a lot more expensive than Movistar, and Movistar is like the cheapest team.
yeah. So from the players, like the actual players, that is correct. And then when we go to the team spot, we see that Fnatic and Movistar are the closest ones. So I have noticed that in the past that the team salary is the most closely correlated with the money line, but they all are roughly associated with it or correlated to it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
I had not looked at that.
because the rest of it.
I had.
What?
Sorry, go on.
I was
I've
gonna
only
say-
looked at them more in relation to each other.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to save money, you can save more by taking a cheaper support. They're $400 different instead of 200.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is the players, since their scoring is more volatile, their salary fluctuates more based on the amount of fantasy points they scored. So if DraftKings is using a formula that says like 60% of their value is based off of the money line and 40% is based off of past performance or vice versa, then you would expect the players with a wider range of outcomes to be more impacted by their actual fantasy scoring. Because like the maximum score really for a team is like 28. Like outside of that is just a ridiculous game. But for a player, you can see like a 40-point game, and obviously it's great for DraftKings purposes, but it's not like abnormal. Like I would be more if you showed me a list of results, I'd be more surprised if there was a team that scored 32 than a player that scored 40. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we should state for anybody just checking out, maybe that missed today's EU Masters. This is best of 3 now, whereas previously it had been best of 1. So, we should think that the talent will win out.
Yeah.
Should.
So I just looked at Movistar's champion pool. So Movistar was in the same one as Kick and Schalke. Schalke was supposed to be a good team. Kick is the second best team from Poland, and AGO Rogue just beat who they beat? Mousy Esports. So I think that means good things for Poland, and the fact that Movistar went 1-1 against them is a good sign, because I think that stylistically it does make sense that different regions have different kinds of play styles, like slight differences in play style, and then I would like want to default to like their champion pools and stuff like that they've showed in this tournament. So if I'm looking at this tournament, El Yoya has played Trundle, Karthus, which is a good champion to see, Kiana, which is a bad champion to see because it's like it's been nerfed a lot and it's very volatile. Like you'll see somebody like Leon play Kiana, which is not. I'm not a huge Kiana jungle fan. Then we have Graves, Ivern, which is just a wild pick. Like nobody plays Ivern right now. Like good for them for trying it. But that they're asking to get flamed basically with a pick like that. Like when that doesn't work, like that's the first thing that people are going to say is like, oh well, I don't know about that Ivern pick. It's like, well, what actually happened in the game? And then Graves, Olaf Graves. So I think that we love seeing Karthus, we love seeing Graves because they're very similar in terms of the pace that they can play with in the jungle. So like we're going to get into this in a separate video, but we're going to talk about carry junglers, and carry junglers are basically, they get more resources from their team than most other junglers. And like you can't give that many resources to every single jungler. The champion itself needs to be able to like utilize that gold efficiently to help contribute to a winning advantage. So the way that I was trying to think about it was by using a golf analogy. Like every single player, like actual player in League of Legends is like a golfer, and every champion is like a different club. So some golfers are very good putters, some are very good with their iron, some are very good with their driver. If I gave a driver to Francesco Molinari and a driver to Brooks Koepka, which one of those guys is going to hit the driver further?
Molinari.
Wrong.
I love Molinari.
Wrong. All right, fine.
Oh man, I don't even get into that story. What?
the Masters?
Yeah.
Why did you have
I
money
was-
on Molinari?
Oh, I was. Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't money. It was DraftKings. I had a ton of Molinari, and Kepka, and they're both low owned. And then Tiger's just like, oh yeah, I'm Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was wild. I was gonna say, so if
Well,
you weren't trolling me, you would say who's gonna hit it further. You would say you're supposed to say Brooks Koepka. Thank
Yes.
you. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing in League of Legends with different champions. So if I gave Graves to El Yoya, who has shown that he can play Graves, it's like giving a driver to Brooks Koepka. If you give Graves to a random jungler on some other team, like the junglers from the Mouse Esports and Ego Rogue matchup, if you gave either of them Graves, it's not going to be as good. So I can give them both the latest driver from TaylorMade, and one of them can use it really well, and the other two are just going to be average with it. It's not going to like expand how influential they are on the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's how I would look. That's what I mean when I say a carry jungler. It's like not only do they pick the champion, but they're so good with the extra resources that they can take over a game. The other reason why that happens with champions like Graves and Karthus is because their jungle clearing speed, like you have the 6 camps on both sides and the 2 Rift Scuttle, and then you can like theoretically take minions from your laners, but you're not supposed to. But they can clear them almost as fast as they spawn. And other champions like take a couple and then go gank a lane, and then take a couple and then they go gank a lane and they take a couple. But like these guys, it's called power farming. If you power farm with Karthus or Graves, they're just gonna get so strong so fast, and then be on the same literal level as a mid laner or something like that. And in the broadcast today, they actually mentioned that Tinks had a higher gold share than either of their solo laners, which is bizarre. But it's probably right, because Bando sucks. That's Bando's team, right? Yeah, Bando.
Yep. Yeah.
Bando
'cause
is bad.
I know that because I had Tinks at captain today, but his the mid laner was actually the one that, or he almost kept up with him,
Yeah.
and that cost me well, that's not true. The first game cost me a ticket.
What, Chekolad versus Woolite?
Yeah. Yep. Chocolade was going crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking of tickets, and that's why I maybe why I'm leaning FNR is because they were part of that one ticket that I did manage to take down.
There you
So
go.
that's probably why they're standing out.
And the
in
truth
terms
will
of
set
skill.
you free.
My friend Dan
Now it's all coming into
Dan-
focus.
and Bravado and the team.
So I think that I prefer Movistar riders based off of the champion pool. So there's more than one way to look at it. So in order for us to make sure that the jungler meta is actually going to matter in the matchup is by looking at what kinds of champions Fnatic is banning. So Fnatic has not banned Graves, so that's either like the other team hasn't shown that they could play it, or that's mostly what it is. The other team hasn't proven that they could play it. But a lot of the time, when the meta game starts shifting and there's like a champion that's a huge outlier, they'll just start banning it because they're like, well, I don't know if this thing is broken as hell, but I'm not going to try to find out in a professional match. So that's kind of what FPX did against JDG in their first game. They gave up Graves, got destroyed by it, and then banned it in the second and third game. So I would watch out for that. I think a smart team, if I looked at the most recent games from my opponent and saw Graves, I would ban Graves. That'd be the first thing that I do, is ban Graves, unless I'm blue side and can play it myself. But Fnatic has not shown that they can play it. So I guess that makes it more likely that Fnatic ends up getting Graves, even though they haven't shown it yet. Because I would be surprised if Fnatic left it open.
Okay.
So in terms of a pick ban advantage, the first place that I'm looking towards is jungle right now in this meta, and then secondary would be AD carry. But all these AD carries at this point in the tournament should be playing everything. It just depends on what they prioritize. So I would like to see more Aphelios from both teams. Let's see, blue. Yeah, so they both don't have a high priority on Aphelios. That's kind of weird. But in terms of matchups, lane by lane, I think jungle, I would definitely give the advantage to Movistar. Top lane, it looks like pretty 50-50. They have like identical champion pools. Mid lane, I see a lot of Azir. Movistar plays some different champions, so that's potentially an upside. It means that they're more likely to counterpick mid lane. So that seems like an advantage to Movistar as well. And then 80 carry and support looks about the same. So based off of pick ban and the potential for the jungler to carry, I would say that I prefer Movistar riders in this matchup.
Okay, I think that's pretty good on that game. So pull up the odds here on the other one again. So the second game is Gamers Origin versus Kick, or K1CK, as I like to call them.
Of course.
With my friends.
Oh, actually, I think that they're called Kick EC, and the EC is Esports Club.
Okay.
That's nice.
Like football club.
You like to see it.
Yes.
That's the good stuff right there.
Gamers Origin is sitting at -204, and Kick is +105. So coming in to this matchup, I feel like we just got done talking about how Kick lost to Movistar in the last seeding match. But they were also, if I remember right, they were also able to take care of SO4, who sort of underperformed, but they were able to take care of them.
Yeah. Emotionally or
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
On the Rift, as we like to say.
Wow. If you look at like the Google search usage of the term "on the Rift" in Matt's life, from like any time before a month ago, it would have been 0 times.
I mean, even just saying the word Rift.
Yes, Rift. Well, yeah, you could have used the word Rift.
Yeah, I'm
not
just
in
trying
this
to
context, but you could have. So let me look real quick. So Gamers Origin came out of the BTXL group. Gamer Legion just shit themselves in that series. That was the team that played like Hjarnan and stuff like that. So they had a lot of unconventional picks that kind of helped the other teams. Like, just it's a quick tangent on that is that when you as a team say that you want to play an AP carry bot lane, like a Talia or Ziggs or Syndra or something like that, you're giving up the ability to pick a champion that can just auto attack and do a ton of damage. So that's always a questionable sign, because like when you play Ziggs or Heimerdinger or something like that, the timing, yes, I know it's ridiculous. The timing, the timing, the way that it works out in fights is just so much more difficult to play around, because it's like you can throw a bomb as Ziggs and like you have to wait a second until you can throw another bomb. So it's like just the timing is so much different. The other champions, you can do like between 1.5 to 2 attacks in 1 second if you're building for attack speed.
Heimerdinger sounds like it should be the name of one of the KBO teams. I'm just gonna throw that out.
The Heimerdingers. The Hanwha Dingers.
The Hanwha Dingers.
I agree. Somebody get on that.
Yeah.
I'll have my people talk to their people.
I mean, we'll just invest in an expansion team. It's hot.
I was gonna say, I was looking up some information about Korea the other day for just like random esports stuff, and there's a like, I think the guy who owns SK Telecom T1 is either like English or American, and I had no idea. It was just so crazy to see. Like, they have like this whole American infrastructure. Like, I don't know how they got into it, but that was a genius move to buy that team whenever they bought it.
So when we get to the players on these teams, the one that stands out to me is partially because of name, but also because of his domination in like the first match of EU Masters is Pookie style.
Pookie style. What do you have, like a 70-point game or something, right?
It was insane, whatever it was.
Yeah. He had a 68.26, 14 kills, 11 assists. That was against Singularity. Singularity got destroyed by everybody. So that's the kind of thing where it's going to have good feelings for DraftKings players, but I don't know how much substance is actually behind that. Before we get too far into the players, what do you prefer, Gamer's Origin or Kick Neosurf in terms of name?
In terms of name?
Name, just the name.
Oh, Kick Neosurf.
Okay, and then if it was...
Gamer's Origins makes me think of things I don't want to think about.
Weird. What
like
about... What's better?
Like the ooze that a gamer crawls out of when it's born.
I did crawl out of ooze. That's a factual statement. But you play Magic Online. What are you talking about? We're two peas in a pod. You're a gamer.
I don't. Yes, but I don't like that phrase.
You're an OG gamer. That's the real thing. If you were, you're like 33, right? How are you not more of a gamer? I don't even understand. You got some explaining to do.
I'm past. My gaming days are over. My friend brought a Switch by recently, and I was like, dang, I can't even read the screen anymore.
That's
and I actually watching some of and trying to play some Counter-Strike Go brought me back. Now there's the OG, the Counter-Strike 1.6 days that I would play on dial-up. Now there's some OG gamer right there.
You've been outed as a gamer. Congratulations, you played yourself.
I played like 3 rounds and uninstalled it.
Ah, there you go. Okay, and then we got to do the names for every lane. So, well, actually, no. Before that, Kick Neosurf versus K1CK Esports Club. I just think there's so many good names to choose from for Kick Neosurf.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so they definitely win that one. Shemek versus Ibo.
Are we going names here?
Yes.
I mean,
fast.
Either.
You got to rapid fire it.
Either.
What?
Both
Takui versus Madislaw.
Takui.
Yes, definitely.
It's more fun to announce.
Blue Arzor versus Schlatan.
Schlatan. Blue. It's not Blue Razor.
I think it's Blue Arzor. I think they say Blue Arzor on the thing.
Okay, Schlaton then, because he screwed up. He should have been Blue Razor.
Yeah. Well, that might have been like either length of name or banned words.
Nope.
So Schlatan reminds me of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, so I'm gonna go with him. XD Smiley versus Pookie Style. Those are both very good names. You like Pookie Style? Okay, that's fine.
XD Smiley trying too hard.
That's funny though. That's a pretty good name. Hustlin' Beast versus Raxo.
Oh, that's easy. Hustlin' Beasts all the way.
So I think overall, we do prefer Kick in terms of names. And then in terms of ownership, what team do you think is going to be more highly owned?
I mean, it's got to be Gamer's Origin.
And then if you had to rank all 4 teams in terms of ownership, what do you think they would be?
Oh, man. I should have thought about that ahead of time. So let's work it out. Let's look at the odds. So we got basically Gamer's Origins got the best odds, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not the most expensive.
Yeah, they're the most expensive team, but not the most expensive players. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Fnatic has more expensive ADC and mid. So I think pretty easily Go is going to be the top. Maybe not based on name recognition. But I guess it also depends on which underdog people want to play more.
Yeah, I think it does. It kind of comes down to that a little bit, but also like how many points have they scored? Like how many points that they've scored in the past matters way too much to most people. So like on an ownership and projection standpoint, it's going to be inflated for those players.
Okay.
So I
can see that.
So I think this might be a spot where people actually convince themselves they want Kick to win because they've scored more DraftKings points in the past, and that lets them play Fnatic pretty easily. So if people just look at the screen and say, oh, well, Fnatic is the biggest favorite probably, so I'm going to pick them, and then it's like, oh, their stack fits with this team and not this other team, I'm going to pick them. So the easiest stack to kind of project would be this one, I think. X Maddie as a captain, top is Pride, jungle Dan, and then Magic Felix, and then let's see if Gamer's Origin fits. Gamer's Origin does not fit. And then with Kick fits. So Kick, I think Kick is going to be maybe surprisingly owned. But I do think Gamer's Origin, if this was any other slate, then I would say, man, that kind of sucks. Like I feel like it's gonna get chalky, and then people are gonna get paid off for picking it for the wrong reasons.
Well, here's what I usually do, and I'm being honest here. And what I've been doing on these 2-game EU Master slates is, rather than trying to guess this, I've been letting other people talk about, just like peeking in on different Discords and stuff, and seeing who people are favoring just in the conversations.
Okay.
Because it's a very small random sampling, but going to larger site Discords or even reading a few articles that are out there, following a few people on Twitter, just kind of put together who they're picking, and really looking for a underdog or a favorite that people are all leaning on or all talking about, because that usually means the others, there's a chance that the other game people are going to go the opposite way. So like you were talking about, people are going to force in Kick because they want to play Fnatic. So if I see a lot of that, I'll probably, from there, I would try to fit in both favorites, or I would go, and Movistar.
Yeah, so. I think that I want to play both underdogs. I think that's what I'm leaning towards right now. I think let's take a look. I know that. So just run it down real fast. What do you think in terms of ownership? 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is real fast. I guess you've convinced me. Fnatic, probably Fnatic, Kick, go Movistar.
Okay, so I would say I don't think that I think that it's like all relative. Like I don't think that being able to fit with the best primary stack means that you're going to like skyrocket. I just think it like boosts like the floor significantly. So I would say I think that it's going to be Fnatic, and then Go, and then Kick, and then Movistar. And you said Fnatic, Kick, Go, Movistar?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's where tomorrow I'd look at how many times I'm seeing Movistar mentioned in positive light, or how many times I'm seeing Kick mentioned in positive light.
Yeah. So then if we go back, we've picked both games by name so far. I think that's a smart decision. We picked individual players that we like their names better. Very important. We looked at the odds.
There's no Babbitt in this one.
Babbitt?
Yeah. I was definitely all over that.
Batting average, what is it? By innings pitched?
Isn't it balls in play?
Is it? I don't know. I'm asking. I have no idea.
Oh, yes. It's balls in play is the BIP part.
I see.
So it's a metric of how balls being put in play or being played.
I see. So then, before we make any definitive statements about these games, let's take a look at their champion pools real quick. So, first place I want to look is Jungle. So Jungle, we have Karthus, we have Graves. On Gamers Origin, that's a good thing. For Kick Neosurf, we have Kindred. They've played against Graves a bunch of times, which is kind of not good to see. Because this guy plays Elise and Lee Sin, Gragas, and Kindred, I'm positive that they can play Graves. It just comes down to how much do they actually prioritize picking that champion. In terms of top lane, it looks like the top laner for Kick plays mostly tanks. So we have a tank player versus a Sylas player. That's pretty interesting. So Sylas, Renekton, Wukong, Gnar. So Gamer's Origin is more likely to pick a bad matchup thinking that it's a good matchup. And what I mean by that is if you're Kick, then they're just going to give you Ornn probably. And that's a good blind pick. You can go 50-50 in most matchups. And at some point you will actually be more powerful than the quote unquote carry top laner who's supposed to be able to do a ton of damage. So I do think that the top lane advantage, it's not that it's an advantage, it's that it's like a preferred play style. The volatility for DraftKings scoring is on Gamer's Origin side. Like the top laner for Gamer's Origin probably has a higher ceiling. But I think that being on a tank is always a good thing as well. So it's kind of a wash. I think more consistency on Kick's side, but a potential advantage on Gamer's Origin for DraftKings scoring. In terms of the mid lane, we have a ton of Azir versus Azir, and I'm not seeing any huge counter picks. Yeah. So Gamer's Origin plays some Lucian mid, some Zoe. So if anybody has an advantage is on Gamer's Origin in that lane. Bot lane, Kick has been given Aphelios a lot. So before we go any further, I'm going to take a look at how much Aphelios they've given up. And it doesn't look like they've given up a ton of Aphelios, but they don't really ban it.
That Go is given up?
Yeah, Go has left it open a lot.
Okay.
So that is a benefit for Kick Neosurf. Or they'll have to ban it. So now we're seeing Gamer's Origin is going to be in a spot in the draft phase where they have to think to themselves, okay, if Graves is left open and Aphelios is left open, which champion do we want? It looks like they'll probably pick neither. They haven't played either of those champions. So if that was the case, the draft would be they first pick Varus, the other team gets Aphelios and Graves, and then you're just holy shit, we're just gonna get destroyed this game. I don't think that we'll see that when Gamer's Origin is blue side, just because you don't have to let that happen, but it seems possible because Gamer's Origin doesn't show that they play Graves. Or actually they do play Graves. Never mind. So
we'll edit that part out too.
Why did I think that? So the Aphelios thing is big though.
Okay.
So if you're red side and you ban out a couple champions, including Graves, it looks like Gamer's Origin is not going to pick Aphelios. So it would go Varus into the other team picking Aphelios and Ornn or something like that. And then after that point in the draft, I prefer that team because it's going to be Aphelios, Ornn, and then in order to counter that, Gamer's Origin would need to pick Braum or something like that. But I don't see many Braum games, probably because they play a lot of Ornn. But if you told me that one team had Aphelios, Ornn, Braum against Varus and insert other champions, I'd probably like the Ornn side better because of how easy it is to play around those win conditions. So okay. I do think that Kick has
being pick, right?
Yeah, I think Kick has an advantage in pick ban in terms of
for
ease
the
of
first
play.
Game, right?
Well, so if it's
or how does that? Does it switch, or does the winner get to choose the side, or the loser?
So I bet that the higher seed probably gets to pick it twice, and the lower seed gets it once. The problem is that based on the conditions that I just laid out for Gamer's Origin and Kick, I think that whether Kick is blue side or red side, I think they have a draft advantage because it doesn't seem like Gamers Origin is going to pick Aphelios. So if Kick is blue side, they could just first pick Graves, let Gamers Origin take whatever they want, and then pick Aphelios. So if this was a 5-game series, it would be less of a big deal. But since it's a 3-game series, like I could see it going game 1, Gamers Origin messes up the draft because they give over Aphelios, and then game 2, they're like, oh well, shit, we have to ban Aphelios, but then they leave open Graves or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an issue, and then it's also the issue of, well, if they perform really well on a few champions in game 1 and they start target banning, then it's like, what else did they just leave open? Because it looks like Kick has a lot of champions that they can prioritize and pick ban that are not only power picks, like according to most people, but they also play a lot. So like we see Kindred, and that makes me like Kick a lot. In terms of DraftKings scoring, what did we see from DraftKings? Are they pretty similar? It looks like Kick scores more. Oh yeah, because they had the 70-point game.
Yeah.
So let's see. How has Gamers Origin in their losses has been respectable. 12 and 13 points in losses isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then 47 and 37 in a win against Gamers Legion. But Gamers Legion was that team that I was talking about that has those pretty bad drafts in general. Like they're playing a different kind of game than everybody else is. So that's tough to gauge it off of that. If I had to, if you had to pick which set you think goes, has higher scoring, which one would you pick?
At this point I haven't looked at any data, so
Okay. Based off of what I saw in the champion pools, I think it's really close. I think like there are some days where I can pick one side that I think is going to be better, like one matchup that I think is going to be better. Like today, I thought that the first match was better than the second match, and I think that's how it ended up playing out. Right?
The first match, yes, it was.
Yeah. So a lot of that comes down to champion pools and like what kind of junglers they play and like what kind of carry junglers they play. The reason I think this is close is because 3 out of the 4 teams play Graves, and that makes it very volatile because Graves can go out there and get a 8-kill game, or he can just create like a commanding advantage and then have like a 10-kill game or something like that.
Yeah. And so that's another thing, a secondary thing that I look at, or I have been looking on these slates, is looking at the data when it comes out as to who gives up more kills and losses, and comparing that to the chatter that I'm seeing. Whether or not people are picking the right game. Not so much the game stack, but to have as your 4 stack.
Yeah.
If people are, leaning to a favorite as a 4, they're most likely, or if they're whatever favorite they're leaning towards is probably going to be their 4 stack.
Yeah.
So take a look at, think about it as likely outcomes. Look at the data as kills allowed in losses by the opposing team for the favorite that I want to play. And if people are on the other one, then you want to go to the other game if you're going to play a favorite and a dog. So it's for me, these, the process sort of comes together at the last minute, but it's a lot of analyzing what people are talking about because we don't have ownership projections. That's like the best I can do.
Yeah.
As far
so
as
you're basically trying to fade. You're trying to fade everybody else.
In one way, like either taking 2 favorites when I think favorite dog is going to be really popular, or if I think a certain favorite is going to be really popular, I want to, and their data shows less kills but given up by the opponent, then I'm going to go to the other one. So it's slate dependent, but it's always, for me, it's always taking a look at what people are talking about and how to take advantage of going slightly differently.
Yeah.
Because you're still gonna probably tie with other people. It's not like you're being super creative because other people are having these thoughts or just accidentally getting on those combinations.
Exactly, and that's always the most frustrating part. Like, there should be like a tiebreaker where when you submit your lineup, you have to write a sentence about why you made the lineup the way that you did, and then DraftKings just picks one. They're like, oh wow, man, this guy's reasoning for picking this lineup was fantastic. The other guy just got it out of an optimizer. Like, that doesn't even count. That's a good
Yeah.
how they should change their contests, and they haven't done it yet.
Oh yeah.
So. Yeah, because
oh well.
Well, yeah.
You need to get you need to get those YouTube views up.
Then they'll start listening to me. They'll all start listening.
Yeah.
They'll see. So that's basically it for this. If you had to make, I guess you probably don't want to give up what you're leaning towards right now. What
I
game
don't care.
stack do you think?
Game stack? No,
Or
game
not
stack.
game stack.
Never.
Which what teams? What's your gut saying for teams to pick?
Yeah. So I do like the the gut call of Fnatic and Kick, or Kick and Movistar. I think Go right now in my mind is bottom of what I want to play.
I think that if I did an almost perfect lineup video tonight, which I'm not doing, I would make the I double dog dare you lineup. And I double dog dare you to play double dogs tonight because the double dogs are going to win, or tomorrow. But I think that's a good way to go today, because just based off of the champion pool stuff, I think that the more volatile matchup is Movistar against Fnatic. Like, I could see that one going low scoring.
Okay.
Because if Fnatic is losing, they could get stomped in some of these games where they just can't even keep up in pace because they're not picking carry junglers. And then the other one does have chances of going really low scoring if both teams pick carry junglers, because then we're into like the Rogue Warriors JDG situation where it's like, oh well, I picked Elise and I'm getting destroyed and I can't do anything on any part of the map, so then the game just kind of dies out.
Right.
But that's basically it for this video. Thanks for watching. Matt, thanks for being here.
Yes. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe, smash that thumbs up. God. I'm not a YouTuber like you.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. You know what I was looking at today was TikTok. I might have to do some esports on TikTok. We'll see how that goes out. That might be a good
I think this loose
lineup.
Partnership might be over soon.
If I TikTok? Dude, I think TikTok is where it's at. I mean
you did make the catchy song, so.
Oh my God, you're so right. I should just play that on TikTok all the time.
All the time, 24 hours a day. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks. Watch out for the other video. What is a carry jungler? That's next.
No, you don't need
I'm doing it my way.
He a legend.